Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you all had a great Memorial weekend. Welcome back to another watch list video. I hope you all enjoy. It was another really good day, Friday, for a lot of names in the overall market itself. Throw up the QQQ. Still kind of building some sort of a little range here, but you know, a lot of names themselves were monsters. I can just throw up a few, just like AEVA, smaller cap name, huge move. You had like some quantum names with some pretty massive moves, some highest volume in a year moves. So that was definitely interesting. And then just a lot of other names that acted really well. And I still see some nice looking setups. And I was able to pick up a decent amount of names last week. About 7 names last week. I got Amazon last week. I got BE last week. I grabbed COHR on Thursday. I grabbed HIVE on Friday. I grabbed OUST on Tuesday. And then Tesla also was one I grabbed on Tuesday. So those names are not going to be on this list, although I'm going to continue to watch those. And I think they have some nice looking weekly charts, but I'm going to hop right into my ready list. AAOI, this optics group looks great. I love the higher low. I love the inside day on Friday. I'm just looking for a push above Thursday's high / Friday's high. You flip to a weekly chart. Inside week looks really nice. Insane move up, and it's starting to get a little tight in here. Sitting still under that May 1st pivot. So we got a lot to work with on this one, but it does look to me like an overall lower or a higher low here. So definitely super interesting as well as the rest of the group. I'll flip to like your LITE. Oops. I'll flip to like your LITE. Really nice inside day under the May 1st or sorry, April pivot over here. So, still kind of where it undercuts and rise this prior low / bounce off the 50, comes into the pivot, pulls back for a day, inside day. You look at a weekly chart, not a bad weekly. And just overall really nice. Definitely is getting pretty tight as far as the action in here right under this pivot. So definitely interesting. Something I'm going to watch straight through that pivot I have marked / Friday's high. But overall, the group's been acting extremely well. Like VIAV, this one's not too bad. It's below the 20-day, so we'll see how it acts. I'd like to see it get above that, but it offered a really nice undercut and rally at the support cap, so I thought that was super interesting. COHR, like I talked about, I bought this one through Wednesday's high on Thursday, so have some cushion in this one, sitting with this nice 10% position. GLW is another one in that group. I think this one also is on my list, so this one also looks great, right? Sitting right under that pivot. Kind of like a stall bar on Friday after a nice push for 2 days on Wednesday and Thursday. Look at a weekly chart, same kind of a like hammer candle. Doesn't look too bad. Built a big higher low. Can it push out? Be interesting, or can it just tighten up for a few days here? That would also be super interesting. This whole group, I'm definitely going to continue to keep an eye on, but AAOI as like one of the more liquid, if not the most liquid name out of the group, and a nice higher low. I think this one looks great. Definitely something I want to continue to keep an eye on. AEHR, this is going to be like your semiconductor equipment names. Building a big base, built a nice higher low, flip to a weekly, insane candle, but either way, just watching this one for continued digestion. I kind of see some little cup here, so not quite tight yet. It's a little loose, but it definitely is building a nice little range. So continue to watch this name. Obviously, this is going to be in your LRCX group, which has been a monster. AMAT, which has been nice. I wouldn't say a monster, but just kind of slowly continuing up with time. ASML, another one. KLAC, another one that's not too bad. AXTI was a beast. Also in this group, this one has been a monster. You look at like a monthly chart, and this thing looks insane, extremely parabolic. So definitely not something I trade. And definitely not a good company, but definitely something I'd watch for a short if it continues to get parabolic like this. And I'm looking for parabolic action on the daily, not so much like a monthly, although definitely something to keep note. But just showing you like the rest of the group strong, right? TER, not bad. Built another one that built a big higher low. Can it just tighten up here off this V? But it is trying to build that right side of the V, so definitely something to be interested of. But that's why I like AEHR. Move on to AVGO. As everybody knows, semiconductors greatest group. Obviously, if you look at the SMH, comes right back up into that pivot. This is another one where it's still, to me, stuck inside this range. So it can easily just push out tomorrow and into this next week and just continue higher, which it's probably going to do. But it would be super interesting if maybe it could just tighten up a little bit and push out. But I don't know if it'll do that. But AVGO, right? Yeah, you could consider this a laggard. It's below the 20-day. It hasn't broken out. Meanwhile, you get like a lab that's absolutely gone out of that little sideways pattern that looks very similar to AVGO. And then CRDO is almost another one, which I don't think this is actually considered a semiconductor. I'd have to double check, but another one that's just been super strong, and they all kind of look identical. But AVGO, I just like the sideways action. It's getting pretty tight here. It just needs to push back above that 20-day. So I'm watching like Friday's high slash just this whole area we've kind of resisted, which is pretty much the 20-day. So can we push back through the 20-day? Definitely something I'd be interested in. Can this build a higher low? I don't think this is a bad chart. You look at like a weekly, you put in an inside week, so it definitely has been getting pretty tight here. But you know, is this like a little mini bear flag where it's going to break down? Who knows? But it's something I want to keep an eye on. Don't know. I'm not too like obsessed with this one, and I don't think it looks the absolute greatest, but it can improve with a few days. So definitely want to keep it on my radar. Circle. And obviously, sorry, going back to AVGL, right? You got HIMX, which is on my list. Been a monster. It's building some sort of nice little cup here. It definitely was a high tight flag, and definitely was a name you could have bought last week, but you know, it continues to look great. Definitely is extended, right? It's over 9 ATRs from the 50, so it's difficult to buy stocks like this that are super extended. But to me, this name looks like it's got a nice level above its head. Can it tighten up for a day or two and then push out of that? Most likely. MXL, another one on the list that's the same thing, where very possibly a high tight flag, and just super strong, insanely strong group. Definitely names to keep an eye on that offered some nice buy points. TSM, your other semiconductor, super nice inside day on Friday. Has been building some sort of a range here since April, so I think this one looks great. And watching this one over Friday's high would be interesting, or just like a flat base breakout would be also pretty interesting. 4 weeks tight on the weekly. So like I said, building a nice range. It's in one of the strongest groups in the market. A-Lab's also in that group. You obviously got MU is technically a semiconductor, so super strong. Intel, another one, digesting, let this thing continue to digest, but either way, super strong group. CRDO, I kind of went over that. AMD, another one where it comes back into the top of the range, uppercuts it, kind of fails it. So definitely not in a spot where I want to buy stuff like this, but obviously if the rest of the stuff in the group looks strong, keep an eye on it for a few days of tightness. And overall, I just think that, you know, these charts, obviously strongest group, and can be set up as high tight flags with just a few more days of tightness. And like I said, that, what was it, HIMX, like definitely could have offered a buy point earlier in the week. So let's move on to Circle. Circle, really nice weekly chart, super nice inside week, built a higher low from last week, so I'm super interested in this name. But you know, I bought this one on Thursday and just let it go on Friday because it just acted like shit. But I'm kind of regretting that now because I really like the chart still. And I mean, you look at something like Bitcoin, super big shakeout of the 50-day. And it's kind of building some sort of little sideways here. Can it push through and then get back above the 200-day? That would be super interesting. But I'm assuming Circle will push out and act better while that's happening. So definitely a name to keep an eye on. I like the weekly chart. This name has been pretty decent. It's living above its 200-day finally. So, you know, kind of like a little cup, like a mini little cup. It's just getting tight in here. So I'm just watching for a push out of this mini range slash like everything we've been building above the 20, under the 10. Push through the 10-day is definitely where I would be super interested. DOCN, this name's been an absolute beast. Your software leader, and super interested in this name. Definitely offered a buy point on Wednesday there through the high volume close, or even through just like Tuesday's high. I don't know how I would have bought this name on a pullback. It definitely came in like absolutely nowhere and bounced, but you know, it offered that candle, and definitely a spot to play with on Wednesday. But a tight day on Friday. Can we push out of this all-time high? Definitely interesting. And you know, it's another name where it's like it's over 7 ATRs from its 50, but it's super interesting. Strongest software stock. Alongside Twilio, which is also on my list here. Super nice pullback into the high volume close. Held it perfectly, which is also lining up with the 20-day inside day. Watching this name above that Friday high for a higher low setup. I think this name looks phenomenal. It's been a big leader alongside DOCN from that original gap up day. So it's moving into stage 2. You look at like a monthly, right? Super nice. I mean, you could even consider this stage 1. Either way, you know, it looks to me like it's in stage 2, and definitely something I want to continue to keep an eye on. And then Microsoft, another software name where it's like, okay, a nice inside day on Friday. This name's been acting like shit, but it is building some sort of like cup and almost like a little handle here. So a nice little flat base. Can it push out of this bottoming base it's trying to build? definitely would be interesting. Obviously, that's your IGV, which is something I own. And then Oracle is another big holding in there that's getting very close to its 200 day. So I really want to keep an eye on these names, see how they act soon. I'm going to bring up Copper Futures here. Super nice bounce last week. Held the 20-day. It got hammered hard. Like, I was interested in copper names as, copper was trending. And then it got hit pretty hard, and I was like, oof. But, the whole of the 20 and a nice bounce of that is interesting. And I pull up this SCCO. A nice little base it's been building higher lows into it. Inside day on Friday, got super tight. Can it push out of that? Super interesting. FCX is also up there. Weekly chart is a little choppy, but I mean, this name, yes, it's been building higher lows. Yes, it's a little choppy as well, but I would just like to see it push out. I think SCCO looks a little bit better to me. It's been a little bit tighter, but overall nice higher lows and a nice inside day on Friday, getting pretty tight. Can these push over Friday's highs / Thursday's highs? Would definitely be interesting. And then obviously, like I showed, you got copper making a nice higher low and finally starting to pick back up again. HBM is another name in that group. Not a bad inside day on Friday, but I just like the other ones better. SCCO, not bad. HUT, another one I really, really like. Super nice ranges building. Not a bad weekly chart, but just overall a super strong group with your WGMI stuff, your data center names, your Bitcoin miners turned to data centers, which funny enough, that's why I bought HIVE, which had a big gap up from some important news from them going from crypto miners into building a big data center. So I liked the inside day on Thursday and it pushed out of that, so I bought it. Definitely was viable below or lower at the 200 day even, but who knows? We'll see if this one can stick. But either way, I love HUT. Continue to digest here and offer an entry next week would be interesting. Which also brings me to Iron, same type of group. Super nice higher low setup on Tuesday / Wednesday. And then you just get a monster fall through the next day and then a tight day. So something to definitely watch. I really like this weekly chart. Double inside week almost. It looks like we did undercut it by a little bit, but either way, just a super nice looking chart. A few days of digestion. Build a little flag here. A little mini base would be super, super interesting above that 10 and 20 day. Would have me extremely interested. Obviously, that will bring up NBIS. Nice inside day. I'm watching a push through the earnings high for an ad, or who knows? I just like the inside week. This name looks like it's just going to go straight up and it's not really going to digest. But it would be super interesting to see this name build a new base here. But inside day, higher low built. This name is too strong for anybody for this name to go sideways, for everybody to own it. APLD, another one in that group, not bad. This action is not my favorite here. Up here, it's super ugly, but inside day on Friday. Will it push out? Very possibly. I liked the pullback into the support gap as well as the pullback earlier, which I've been talking about this name for a while. This is going to be your NeoCloud names like NBIS. Cypher is another one in that group. Nice weekly chart, sort of building some kind of flag. A few more days of tightness would be interesting. Don't really see how these things are viable right now. They definitely could have been viable on a pullback, but I don't know. I really don't like the range that this stock is building. It's not tight. It's very loose. So I try to avoid that. Riot wasn't bad as a pullback buy and kind of continuing higher. Another not bad weekly chart. Another one building a range like HUT, and definitely one where you flip to like a monthly. Actually, this one does have extreme amounts of overhead supply, but I think it's HUT. HUT, absolutely no overhead supply. And Iron, I think, is another one where it's like, not too much overhead supply compared to like Wolf and some of these other ones where, there's a lot of overhead supply. But, Wolf is another one that group doesn't look bad. Riot, obviously, like I talked about. So I think those things don't look bad. NVT, nice higher low right off the earnings low. It undercut and rallied that level pretty nicely and held strong pretty much at the 20 day. And then a super tight day on Friday, making this look like overall a higher low. I don't mind the chart. This is another one where it's like, it's building some sort of a range in here. So definitely interesting. I like this name. NVT's also got this is going to be in your BE group, which is a name I own. What else? VRT is another one. Plug, which all these names I talk about every day last week. These were super interesting names. And FCell, another name I've been talking about for a while. It's in that group. So nice range is being built. Nice hold of the 20 day and then an inside day on Friday. Super interesting. SCCO I talked about. SNDK, this is going to be your king of the market. A nice inside day on Friday. To me, it looks like these names are going to go higher. Obviously, if you look at SNDK, that's going to be your DRAM, which also had an inside day. Super interesting if you find yourself trading the ETFs. But overall, you got your STX, looks great. WDC looks great. MU is also that memory, and then Dell is another name where, you know, this is your computer hardware kind of stuff. That looks great. And then obviously, like talk about like the quantum stuff, which is also computer hardware. Looked not too bad the last few days. Like your QBTS made a super big move back above the 200. Definitely interesting. Rigetti back above the 200. Definitely interesting. And then IONQ, another one that's been above the 200. Hasn't been too bad. Definitely interesting. So definitely keep an eye on these names. Are they going to be shortable if they just straight up go parabolic here into certain levels? Definitely, possibly. Or definitely possible. Something I'm just keeping an eye on. SOLS. The only name in this group that I found that looks interesting is LIN, which is which is the biggest market cap name. But SOLS still inside this base. You know, kind of a higher low here from Thursday and Friday. So I'm just watching a push out of there. And can it break out of the base? It breaks out. You know, anybody that buys a breakout gets stopped as it squats right back in the base. Can it push back out? We'll see. Recent IPO name. Chemicals group. Who knows? Definitely something that interests me. Something I want to keep an eye on. TSM I talked about. Super nice flat base. And then Twilio also talked about. These names don't look bad. I think these are some of the best looking actionable names in the market right now. Definitely stuff I want to keep an eye on. The markets are gapping up in the after hours, like your NQ, you know, breaking out of the all-time high. ES, same thing. And then Russell, I think as well. Yeah, breaking out right into the new high. I don't want to chase strength come Monday morning. I'd rather just be patient. You know, I have a lot of names. Probably trimming some of these things if they allow me as far as into ATR extensions, but I really want to sit with what I got, be patient into the new week. And yeah, I just don't want to chase strength tomorrow. Last week was great. So, and I also want to bring up crude oil, which disgusting breakdown. So, you know, obviously these oil names you should not be paying attention to on the long side. Maybe on the short side if you're ballsy enough. But really quick, I'm going to talk about three ETFs I really like. TAN, which has got your FSLR, which has been a beast. EMPH, which has been a beast. Definitely keep an eye on these names for some digestion or real setups. I don't like the 1-2 day setups and then they're gone. It just shows the strength in them, but like I'd rather wait for some real digestion, some flags being built, which I think is going to come. So be patient with those names. NXT is another name still inside of its base. And then SEDG, another one that this one doesn't look too bad. This name definitely could have ended up on the ready list. Might as well just throw it on there. But, you know, looks great. So your solar stuff. And then obviously everyone knows your UFO, which has been an absolute monster, which has got your Rocket Lab, which looks great. ASTS, which looks good. Definitely looked like shit and then came out of what would you call that? You know, from the outhouse, kind of came out of the outhouse area. It's trying to come back up to the penthouse, but can it offer a setup here? Definitely would be interesting. PL is also in that group, still just slowly going higher. Lunar was nice on Friday. Really nice strength in a lot of these. SATL, another one, super nice tightness, breaks out of that. And then Fly was a big one on Friday. So nice higher low setup. These names look great. Continue to keep an eye on these. WGMI, everything in that group as well. And then your memory. Those four groups I think are super important and have been the biggest leaders. So yeah, that's gonna be it pretty much. But just want to continue to remind myself, don't really want to chase strength. Definitely want to be patient going into next week, and I'll let the setups come to me. And that'll be it. Hope you guys all had a great Memorial weekend. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.